The president has been leading those tributes, and just about every important organization in the country has been showering praises upon those men. In fact, as the president put it, Nigeria is not quite the same, and we will sorely miss them. Chief Anyaku, he said that these are shoes that are going to be quite difficult to fill. I think when he was referring to, I'm not sure now, it was either one or the other, but both are highly revered gentlemen. And there are people who also were quite close to them, might not have been close to them in the sense of their age. They were both nonagenarians, both of them over 90. One was 96 and the other was 94. And well, without much more ado, let me introduce again. This is a special event because Comrade Adele Adewale, he is also in that ilk, although he will agree that he's much younger than them. But he played in that particular scenario. And first of all, today is your birthday as well. And I think I'll take the honors of wishing you a happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And this is a very, as has been said, this is a loss that Nigeria has its work cut out for it, how it is going to fill those shoes, paraphrasing Chief Anyaku on this particular one. You were close with both of them. That because the democracy struggle has involved you as well. And here we are today. I know that Chief Adebanjo, you were close with him, and you know the history going back to the days of AD. The president was the first out of the bat, so sort of talk about the invaluable contributions of, before Adebanjo, the other gentleman who had died. Your thoughts on these two patriots?
Well, first of all, I want to commiserate with the families of the two great icons, and of course their nationality groupings and all Nigerians. It's a very sad page that have been closed. These are men that have played a very pivotal role in the political and social history of Nigeria. They also played their role in the formation of the Nigerian state and all. Mm-hmm. And I was not particularly close to Chief Edwin Clark. I've always known him from afar. And
but his reputation went before him to all Nigeria.
Definitely. For Chief Adebanjo, I met him at close proximity on 2 occasions, but I was very close to some of their deep associates, like Chief Anthony Nahoro. I work very closely with Chief Anthony Nahoro, and I also work very closely with Dr. Beko, and also Barrister Okpadokun and Chief Barrister Fred Agbegbe. These are people that are very close to them, that I'm also very close with. And in fact, Barrister Okpadokun called me about 2 days ago and asked that, Ayo, where are you? And I said, I'm around, sir, I'm doing my business. I said they went to visit the family, that he would have wanted me to come along and all of that. And I told him that whatever role you feel like I'm playing is, that I'm very open. But having said that, I think I also met Papa Adebanjo at Dr. Tunji's Braithwaite's wife, one of her funeral program. Okay. And when he saw me with Barrister Tunji Braithwaite's son, Olumide, so Olumide told him that this is one of Asiwaju's son, the president. And I said, you! So he was like cheating me and all of that. Then I just bowed. Then I was looking at him from the side eye, and he was smiling. He was just smiling, looking at me, trying to rattle me. And he's someone that is very fun to be around. Yeah. And he always express his mind.
That's right.
And all of that, but you give it to them.
Yes.
They're full of wisdom.
In fact, just as you said, when we also had the privilege of hosting Baba, although before, this particular time, because I think it was 96,
I think so. I
Yeah.
can't vividly recall.
Because
his
they were
age.
both nonagenarians.
Yes.
One was 94, I believe the other was 96, and we lost them within 5 days of each other. But we'll come to that and we'll talk about it. Our other valued guest is Ken Okolugbo. Sir Ken Okolugbo is a consultant, Communications and Strategy Office of the Senate President. And he's joining us remotely. Wish I had him here, but nevertheless, technology is such that we still have him. At the end of the day, we have him with us. Good morning to you, Sir Ken.
Good morning. Happy New Year, Uncle Yori. Thanks for having me.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
I haven't spoken to you this year.
You're right, when you look at it like that. So, let me just say compliments of the season then.
Thank you very much.
As you've just heard, we're talking about these great Nigerians who lived into their 90s and were effective, agitators for democracy, for good governance, for peace, virtually till the last day. Were you close with the elder statesman out of Delta State?
Yes, Papa Clark was my father.
Okay.
A few of us were not his biological children, but we're as good as his biological. We're as good as his biological children.
Yes.
Maybe you can consider us as first 11 if you put it that way. But yeah. I wasn't so close to Adebanjo, but Adebanjo is very close to Papa Clark, and through that we used to meet Adebanjo. And I remember the last time I saw him, he commended me for one of the outings he watched on television. You see, it's a rude shock that Adebanjo would die on a Friday, and about 4 days after, Papa Clark would join him, because these were voices that you can't wish away. Papa Clark, like the Senate President, described him, was the conscience of the nation. He would speak where nobody would speak. He never cared whose horse was God. I remember the last time we had him on this program. If you remember very well, Uncle Yori.
Yes.
There was no host bad. You had to even appeal to him to temper issues down, and that's Papa Clark for you. Indeed. Even when you try to convince him in private over an issue that he's very convinced about, he will give you his superior arguments. And very few times he might come with superior arguments. He will capitulate. But even when he does capitulate, Papa Clark will give you the reasons why he's capitulating. You understand? And that is who he was. He was the voice of the voiceless. He was a defender for those who couldn't defend themselves. And he helped the economy of this country, because his work with the militants helped to ensure that production remained either stable or increased in most of the oil-producing states of the Niger Delta.
Indeed. Well, you're right. And back in studio here, we were talking, he's just been speaking to these gentlemen. They were uncompromising with the truth, the way they saw it. They were not much given to political correctness. What needs to be said, so that we don't mistake it. He's just remembered an instant when we also had the privilege to, host Pa Adebanjo on our program. Well, that was the way it was. I think what he was referring to was that he was forthright, where he had criticism. Even the president had acknowledged that even if we had political differences, he was a father figure. And Adebanjo gave plenty of evidence of that when he came on the program. Again, is this the way you have also known him, when people say that Adebanjo, uncompromising, predictable in the sense that he's for Nigeria? In fact, maybe President Trump is not the one who started America first. Maybe Adebanjo and indeed Pa Clark, maybe they have been at the forefront of Nigeria first. It's just that it wasn't, structured in those particular terms. Can you relate with that? The incident, especially Pa Adebanjo, Nigeria first. What is good for Nigeria is what I stand for.
Like I said, they were part of the formative process of the Nigerian state. Though they were very young at that time, but they had leaders and they were always with their leaders discussing on how they envisaged that Nigeria would be. So they are driven by that thought of conviction from the cradle of creating the state. And whenever they see anything that is out of the way they saw it and the way they discussed it, they're also driven by their own ideological conviction, but they don't mix self with it. So they separate self. If they see you, yeah, they will talk to you. But when it also comes to a matter of ideology and principle, right, they can have differential views. But that does not mean that they now tend to create hatred. No. So there's always separation.
What you just said reminds me of a politician in the ilk who also sadly left us quite a fair bit ago. I'm talking about Alhaji Waziri Ibrahim of the GNPP, politics without bitterness. That's the line I just remembered. It was his mantra.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
There was this time President Tinubu was having his birthday, and I had wanted to surprise him. Then I got in contact with Shetima Yerima and Ajia Bako, the daughter of late Bako, that was the governor, I think, Kaduna or Kano State then. So when I said I would like to bring Alhaji Maitama Sule, oh, they said brilliant that they have a contact with him. So we brought him to Lagos. And Maitama Sule told me a story then at Sheraton Hotel. He said when he was very young and he was in the parliament, and one day Chief Obafemi Awolowo had just spoken, and he went to him, crouched before him and greeted him. And some of his colleagues were like surprised because they belonged to different bends. And the Saudana saw him and called him and said, I love what you have done, that anytime you see Chief Obafemi Awolowo, give him his respect.
His due respect.
Give him his due respect.
I've got to take a very, very quick break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, please.
A few days after the passing of Nigeria's foremost nationalist, elder statesman, and national leader of the Afenifere group, dignitaries, associates, friends, family, and members of the civil society groups visited the late Ayodele Adebanjo's home in Lekki.
We just must thank God for his life. He has shown that he's not just a Yoruba man, he's a nationalist. And we will never forget this bridge that he erected between the East and the West.
It's a very devastating loss. However, like I've always said, he was one of those who fearlessly and courageously fought for justice, equity, fairness, and a better Nigeria.
A civic organization, the Patriots, led by Emeka Anyoko, praised Pa Adebanjo's forthrightness and unwavering commitment to speaking truth to power throughout his lifetime.
We should be celebrating the life of a national leader who has left a huge legacy of unquestionable patriotism and dedication to the pursuit of a Nigeria founded on equity, justice, and inclusiveness for all its citizens.
The entire Adebanjo.
The first son of the late Adebanjo, Obafemi Ayo Adebanjo, spoke about the funeral arrangements.
I'm sure he will be very proud as well, looking down and seeing the turnout of how much of the sacrifice he paid in his life was actually worth it. So we're very, very grateful for that. As far as the arrangement, we haven't finalized yet because there's a lot of time not to bury, which is the period of the Lent and all the Muslim fasting period all overwhelmed. So we don't want to be involved in that, but as soon as we make a final decision, we can let the press know.
Pa Ayodele Adebanjo was a key figure in the Democratic Coalition NADECO, a movement at the forefront of the fight against military dictatorship in Nigeria. Sharon Ijason, TVC News. A few days after the passing of Nigeria's foremost nationalist, elder statesman, and national leader of the Afenifere group, dignitaries, associates, friends, family, and members of the civil society groups visited the late Ayodele Adebanjo's home in Lekki.
We just
message to the Clark family and the Ijaw Nation, Governor Borowore, in a statement issued by his chief press secretary, Festus Ahon, described Pa Clark's life as one that was well spent in service of the nation. At the Delta State House of Assembly, legislators observed a minute of silence in honor of the elder statesman. The Speaker and other members of the House shared their moving tributes, reflecting on the indelible mark Pa Clark had left on the region and the country at large.
Pa Clark was an enigma and an iconic classic leader. He was a prominent advocate for the rights of the Niger Delta region. He was like a book full of many chapters for every one of us.
Vincent Oyibode, who worked closely with the late Ijaw leader as the national youth leader of PANDEF, described Pa Clark as a man of many parts, a visionary, an activist, and a mentor whose influence reached far beyond the Niger Delta.
Activist is that is the word. He was a main activist, a social crusader, and he's a peacemaker too. When we got the news that he passed on, it's so painful, shocking, and he's a man that we will live to miss. We will miss his boldness, we will miss his courageousness, we will miss his intelligence, and we will miss his education to us.
The death of Pa Edwin Clark coming just days after the passing of the Afenifere leader Pa Adebanjo has further deepened the collective grief felt across the nation. Pa Clark died on Monday night at the age of 97 in Abuja, leaving behind a legacy of unwavering commitment to the people and the causes he held dear. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Asaba.
Well, thanks to our reporter there. Pa Edwin Clark actually passed at the ripe old age of 97. Just, 3 years score of 3 years short of 5 score. People talk about 3 score and 10. There was Pa Clark and Chief Adebanjo, both of them reaching for the fifth, as it were, fifth score. Okay, as you know, Ken Okulugbo, Consultant Communications and Strategy Office of the Senate President, is our remote guest. And so I wanted to bring to you one of the things both nationalists were known for. So speaking right now about Pa Edwin Clark, was their quest for true federalism. This was very, very important. The objective of we need to be federal. Talk to me about that, because if you're looking for a trademark topic, that's one of them since Pa Clark started being active about Nigeria.
In fact, Pa Clark lived his life for resource control. He believed in the fact that what we were producing from the oil-producing areas, 13% was not a fair share. He looked forward to a situation where we could have 30% if possible, or better still, control the resources and pay tax to the center. And true federalism for him was giving the center less work to do and the states more of the control power over their security, over their region, over administration of their people. And that was exactly what Papa Clark represented. And like you said, Adebanjo also was for true federalism and resource control. In fact, 30% was not even what Papa Clark looked at. He looked at 50%, but a lot of people said, oh, we could talk of 30%, which is why you see that Bayelsa governor had spoken in that line. And for Papa Clark, he was Commissioner of Finance, he was Commissioner of Education, and don't forget he was the Minister of Information. And so for all his life, he has been one that has been able to speak truth to power. And he felt that, look, the areas that were being developed, the giza lays the golden egg, was not being developed in reality like it should have been developed. And that's why you see initially when the president set up the regional government, Pakwa kicked regional ministry, renamed the Niger Delta Ministry. Pakwa kicked vehemently against it. It took some of us to explain to him that, look, the president did mean well, that what the president was looking for was a ministry to warehouse all the new commissions that the Senate had been able to bring on stream to encourage more regional development. And that the South-South Development Commission was coming on stream. That was what actually had to calm him down. If not, he was vehemently against the Ministry of Regional Development. That is who Pakwa is. He doesn't think that he should fight for only the South. He fights for the Middle Belt, and he even fights for the affairs outside the South. I know so many people who have come to him from Taraba, Katsina, Kaduna, and so on and so forth to make a case for them. There are many cases that Pakwa could make behind the scene and help a lot of issues and solve a lot of problems, but nobody knew about it because those ones were behind the scene.
You know, yeah, thank you very much. We've in the clip that we were seeing earlier, I think that there was Chief Emeka Anyoko there, who was leader of the Patriots, you know, former Commonwealth Secretary General, and that's another person who has been both hands and both legs. I'm now speaking Yoruba in English. Both hands and both legs in the whole concept or issue of Nigeria and its development. Now, whereas we're talking about these elders, these nationalists now, I wonder, what do you think about those that will follow? I mean, they have played their bit. They go back to the very, very beginning of the whole concept of Nigeria. Are you sure that we are indeed, that there is a legacy? You were speaking about, you don't even need to be their biological offspring. But do we have a legacy, do you think, in the mold, the fearlessness, the straight talking of Adebanjo, and for that matter, Edwin Clark? Is there hope in that regard?
Yes, there's hope. We have a lot of them among the youth of today that tend to express their minds. And
on behalf of Nigeria? On
behalf of Nigeria, yes. They tend to express their mind in the profoundness of cultural respect and how they view their things. Some of them might be misunderstood, you understand, but they still go ahead to express their mind and, of course, prefer solution.
Okay.
I mean, you did mention Chief Anyoko. He's also a man that does not put a barrier, you know, in between his person and young people that want to, you know, become mentee with them. Because I remember a guy, I used to call him Mr. Joshua. I was 16 then. He used to work for Quincy. He was organizing the youth thing at 14. So one day he was talking about Chief Anyoko, and I said, oh, okay, I can take you to him. And he said, are you sure? Are you sure? He was so excited. And we called him, and he allowed us come to his home in Ikoyi, and he saw him. And Joshua continued to live with that experience of meeting with him and talking with him. You know, so we still have a lot of them that tend to give their time to talk to young ones and partake in their programs and pass on that knowledge, pass on that courage, and of course pass on that value that is very important in order for them to push their view forward without being disrespectful. And of course, trying to get the audience to listen to you and see your proposed solutions.
Even though the times are different from when these eminent gentlemen we're talking about now, when they were young, but it was a different country. The culture was different. By culture, I mean the way the country has become now. It wasn't like that in their time. Or is it that there wasn't social media in their time? Therefore, you might feel that a lot of things that we're contending with now, we didn't contend with. But I'm really talking about the values, the social values. What was wrong was wrong. It's not as if we were a society of saints, but we had a situation where they were able to call out wrong. Between then and now, do you think we still are in that particular route of saying it like it is?
You must understand that time evolves and that there are dynamics along the thread of time. So whatever thing you see now are things that had happened before, but they were not particularly in the faces of people like it is now.
Okay.
Right?
Maybe courtesy of social media, right?
Well, social
Perhaps.
media, information platforms,
Because
different platforms.
you know instantly.
I think it's about the consciousness, right?
Okay.
Even with social media, people just glance through things and they're not conscious of the information that are there. So consciousness has increased now, right? Consciousness has increased unlike before, and people get connected more unlike before.
Okay. I don't know. So I'll tell you what, let's take a break now, and then we'll come back and continue with this conversation. Do please stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching Beyond 100 Days with Nifemi Oguntoye. President Tinubu, since he assumed office,
we are on our way to progress.
6 out of the 8 APC federal lawmakers.
I have a movement structure that's going to take back our party in Enugu State. Because this one I'm seeing is just by moonlight. It's not working.
So I'm wondering what you think or who you think can stop him now.
He doesn't own the party.
One of the causes of inflation is because people cannot go to the farm.
The government still needs to do more so that people can eat.
I believe what we're clamoring for is more responsible use of social media. Not that people just go in there and think that they can say anything to anybody.
Tinubu is not one who believes in the simple. I mean, he wants to get it done. He will face it. He will get it done.
Yes, the president, from inception of his administration, focused squarely on diversifying the economy and driving in investments to, cushion the effect of everything that we've seen, ranging from COVID-19 to the global commodity shocks, global financial crisis, and all of that.
I was privileged to have worked under a governor who believed in the system, who also built up the system, and I'm going to do same.
All right, that's our show today, everyone. Thanks for being a part of it.
TVC News, first with breaking news.
Okay, thank you very much for staying with us. And this is just to explain that, well, Ken Okolugbo, the Consulting Communications and Strategy Officer of the Senate President I was speaking about, he has had to leave. He did so, we knew from the beginning, but, just to explain that he's had to go. We're able to speak to him for a few minutes, all about the encomiums that are coming in for both Pa Edwin Clark and Pa Adebanjo. Edwin Clark passed on at 97, and Pa Adebanjo, was at 96. That is indeed plenty. And both of them, as far as we could tell, in good health. And all their faculties were there, and they were involved in the Nigeria project until we suddenly heard the news that indeed they had gone on to the great beyond is one of the euphemisms that we use. Okay, but with us here, by the way, Mr. George, apologies for keeping you waiting. Good morning to you, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Harry.
Thank you very much for holding on. Good morning. Sorry about that.
No problem. I greet Sir Ken and the respected comrade.
Yes.
Good morning,
Uncle
sir.
Harry, Uncle Harry, it is a practice all over the world among mankind to always talk about the positive when somebody passes on.
Yes.
Unfortunately for us, women, the loss of life do not see it like that. You are just judged according to your works. If a man it is not how you were in the past or how you wish to be tomorrow, but how you stand now. That is the basis and the parameters used to determine where you go when you live. I quite appreciate what these two elderly men have done for us in Nigeria in the past. And I'm praying that as they move on, they should be able to find the right path that will take them to paradise. But truth must be told that no matter how you stood before, it is how you stand now that counts in creation. I will not join hypocritical statements when you are saying one thing, but it's the opposite that you mean. How these two men stood as at the time they were passing on is what counts. I wish them well. Thank you, Uncle Yori.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. George. That's an interesting one there. Well, I take what you've said, and we do take all sorts of opinions. Unless, did you have any particular comment?
No, not really. Like it is often said that history, people will dialect our time on this mundane when we pass on. But the greatest of all is that the common good that we've done will definitely overshadow our great beyond. You can't take it out from the two of them. They've been very, very instrumental to the development of this country from their various space. They might also have contending differential of views and all of that.
We're celebrating, although Nigerians have been doing that, the times of Pa Edwin Clark, who passed on at 97, and Pa Adebanjo. We can say Pa for those people because these were people, you wouldn't have known it considering the level of activity, how vibrant they were, 97 and 96. And then it pleased the good Lord that this was going to happen within 5 days of each other. I mean, this, it's like wonders shall never cease. And by the way, we shall be.
It was like Ezekiel and Adeniro Ogunsoya when they both passed on. Okay. They were very good friends, but look at.
And there was a very,
very close timing in their departure.
Indeed. So, but there's no way you look at the political history of Nigeria and those names will not come up. They won't be the only names, but we're talking about them because they have had this, what does one refer to this as now? This privilege. Now they've moved on to the greater beyond, as we say. And so Nigerians are celebrating them. As I said, started off from the president himself, who, in fact, the president, speaking about Ayo Adebanjo, said that even his ultimate emergence as the president today, there's no way he'll be as uncharitable as to say that Pa Adebanjo didn't have a hand in it. Even though the platform, he said, he was speaking about AD, the platform AD, upon which I think the president now then contested for the governorship of Lagos State. So maybe you also, you're knowledgeable about the AD. Tell us a bit about that and the formation of that political organ that has since transformed.
Well, the AD was a party of ideological concept. They had their programs. And don't be quick to forget that the key players there were people who fought for the enthronement of democracy. Many of them were from Nadeco, right? And when the 1999 opportunity, provided itself, they were very convinced that let's go into the process. And some people from the left also, like Chigani and the rest, preferred that we have a people's constitution before going into election. But we thank God that people like the President, Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, took that bold step alongside the pro-democracy groups, that they should go in and act as catalysts. Because if they have not done that, only God knows what Nigeria would have become today, right? So we must continue to thank them for taking that bold step to move when it was time to move. I mean, if people like Chima Ubani of blessed memories, Bamidele Aturu, and many of them, came in at that time and go into the National Assembly, I'm telling you, would even have it more than better than what we have now.
Okay. We have J.K. Pele on the line in Abuja. Good morning, Mr. Pele.
Good morning. I'm in Lagos with you.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning, Yori. Morning. Well, it's a sad day, sad moment that we have lost these icons of democracy.
But they were 96 and 97 respectively.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they lived their time, they fulfilled their years, but I mean, Nigeria needs them now much more than ever.
Okay.
But Yori, these are one of them I know too well. Adebanjo, I didn't know much. I was just following all his antecedents on
Adebanjo.
Media.
Okay.
Adebanjo, yeah, sorry. I was following all his antecedents and all that. But I had a very close relationship and last-minute experience with Edwin Clark.
Okay.
I met Edwin Clark maybe 10, 15 years ago, and when we met, it was during one of the outings with Jonathan. When we met, he sent the aide to reach out to me and said, look, Jake, here are all my numbers. I really want to sit down with you. That never happened until about just a few months ago. Like, I think it was November, December, that I just said to myself, I need to talk to Edwin Clark. So I called him, and he picked and said, Jake, I still have your number. Where are you? Where are you? I said, Pa, I'm in Abuja. He said, you're in Abuja. You don't want to come and see me. I said, no. I don't even know your house. He now gave the phone to the aide. Said, tell him to come now.
Okay.
So I dropped everything I was doing. We both live in the same area. I ran to his house where he was full of people. And then I'm going to be brief. And then he asked me to come upstairs. I went straight to the bedroom, and he was lying down and all that. And he told me, he says, look, my friend, where have you been? I watch you on TV. I see what you do. He held my hand and said, continue. I was looking at him. He said, continue. Start mine. Continue. Well, you need to come closer. We need to meet again. When are you coming back? I was traveling, So let me say about these two icons. These are selfless individuals.
Okay.
If you see where Edwin was living, with all that he was doing, too much a fantastic house. Even though some politicians who wanted to corner him had made him offer, we'll renovate the house, we'll buy you cars. And he was not interested. The same thing is applicable to Adebanjo, right? This is a non-tribalistic individual, one who were fighting for the unity of the country, not even the region where he comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he was fighting for the soul of this country. you know. And so we need people like this. And sometimes when I was reflecting this morning and I said to myself, these guys have left shoes too big for anyone to put his foot on.
Yeah.
You know? So you know, I am concerned, but I am also fired up. Fired up in the sense that these people spoke the truth protected them, they lived a life that anybody will want to live. You know, they didn't die of any illness, complicated illness and all that. This is true to show that when you serve with all your heart, God is obligated to protect you. Yori, I am really fired up. I may not live to do all that they did, you know, but I am very,
they are an
challenged.
inspiration.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Pele. Really appreciate you for contributing that. You know, this reminds me again, since he was speaking about the late respected Edwin Clark, the Constitutional Conference. Remember?
Which one of it?
The latest.
No, was it the Jonathan one?
Yes, the Jonathan one. How did that go? Because I think Pa Clark was instrumental in the leadership of the efforts towards that. Would you? I don't know, because it looks like on a certain side of the political divide, they weren't too crazy about it. But there are other people who said that, look, we need conferences like that. This is the kind of thing that Pa Edwin Clark would have been involved in. But speak to me about those kind of efforts, because it then reminds me that far from just playing to their own particular corner and set, you've mentioned it earlier, they were concerned about Nigeria in a totality.
You know, their informed decision mostly was drawn from the belief and the ideology they had acquired pre-independence, because they believe that you must have a document that will foster unity in the country. And they've been pursuing this belief over time until the gap that was created through the military interregnum and all of that drew them back and all of that. And ever since, they've been fighting to return Nigeria to democracy so that they can continue from where they stopped. And again, it happened in 1983. You know, they were also drawn back again. And they now changed and started fighting to return Nigeria back into a democratic system. And when that came again, they went back again to start to work, you know, to create a people's document. And this time it was championed by Chief Anthony Enahoro. And like I said, I was privileged to have met him, and he embraced our view. And I became the mobilization and liaison officer for PRONACO. And I knew very well that they were all very, very driven by what they had not finished pre-independence and all of that. And I also remember that at a certain time we met Chief Odumedu Ojukwu in Enugu, you know, for consultation and all of that. I would have been very happy if I had the privilege to meet Chief Clark, because there were questions I would have loved to ask, you know, and all of that. I haven't read a lot about the Nigerian, you know, history and all of these things. So, to your question, they were drawn from an unfinished project, right? And over their lifespan, they kept on trying to finish that project, which is to prepare a document that will foster the Nigerian state together as a nation, right? Rather than just a country. And every nationality groupings will have its own fair share, you know, on how things should be, and we all move along that trajectory.
Let's talk about, you know, Pa Edwin Clark, who passed at 97, and Pa Ayo Adebanjo, who passed on at 96, within 5 days of each other, hearing about one particular incident on Monday, and then 5 days later we hear about the other. Somebody has said that the Grim Reaper has been doing overtime, unnecessary overtime. Who sent him all that work? But you mentioned two organizations there, NADECO and PRONACO. for those who are watching from abroad especially, and maybe more some of the younger ones, NADECO, PRONACO, just explain that a bit. And how this
Well, these are two groupings, two platforms that had many of the founding fathers of the Nigerian state and people who came thereafter. NADECO primarily was to fight for the enthronement of democracy in Nigeria after the military interregnum and all that. That's NADECO. Then PRONACO was set up to form a people's constitution, and we created a people's confab, right? It was headed by Chief Anthony Enaro. The deputy was Dr. Becker and Somkuti, if I'm not wrong. Then the vice chairman was Professor Wale Soyinka. Then you had Professor Jade Sola Akonde heading the legal department. You have Dr. Kesaya Oshika there. You have Babaoni Widiomojola as the secretary, right? You have Mr. Wale Okuni as the PR. We have so many nationalists there and younger people. And they went across the nation, even went to the diaspora, you know, to talk to people, to send in memorandum and all of that. And we did have a people's confab, and we came out with a draft constitution for Nigeria. I also remember that at one of our conference where we celebrated June 12th, the former President Buhari was also there to deliver a paper and all that. And the present president was also part of that process. And we all worked together, you know, to have a very pleasurable country that will provide for all and sundry.
Okay, well, that's a very, very brief look at NADECO and PRONACO as you've sort of explained it. And maybe in your explanation, we sort of get a bit more of an inkling into Chief Emeka Onyeoku's statement that these are gigantic shoes. It's going to be very difficult to fill because these people were, you know, nationalists par excellence. And I think, it was that caller who called in J.K. Pele who was saying that these people were not selfish, by which I think it's the same thing almost as saying they were selfless. It didn't matter how much this would have cost them personally. Their sights were locked on Nigeria achieving its potential. And, you know, they were respected in those roles, and that's why they had a sort of a following. Even, you know, our guest, Ken Okulubo, who had to go on, was alluding to that. And even in the insert, the tribute that we played there, a lot of people were speaking to the wisdom of Chief Edwin Clark. And no doubt also, you know, the same thing goes with Chief Adebanjo. You were mentioning that, yes, he's a lawyer, qualified as a lawyer, but then continued the struggle. And the other thing is that he wasn't necessarily in the same political camp as Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even though at the time they had been. And the president himself referenced that no matter that there might have been different political leanings, he always was a father figure. Now, that is respect. He was paying respect to the man because he needn't have gone that way. But I think the president, being the kind of person that he is, has just needs to let it be known that, look, there are sterling people that you look at the value of their contribution, not necessarily what they are wearing before you come to a decision. And he has certainly put Adebanjo. He had played glowing tribute to Edwin Clark too at the time. So Nigeria will sorely miss these people. We've been told that, especially in the case of Adebanjo, that details will be provided very, very shortly by their family. But I don't know if I should put you on the spot by saying, what did the president mean? Because I also know that you also have your closeness to certain quarters in Abuja there. So what exactly did the president mean when he was speaking about, even if there were political differences, he still was a father figure to Nigeria? Those were kind words by the president, and they were true, not just kind. They were true. Give us an inkling into what that meant.
Those words were not just kind, not just true, but they are facts. When the president was campaigning then to become president. He also visited Adebanjo in his home. And he prostrated, right? And that he prostrated.
And there's 20 years difference now.
And that reminded me when we went to Ibadan to meet Pa Alayon Day.
Okay.
Chief Anthony Enahoro, as old as he was, he prostrated. And I asked him, I said, why, sir? He said he was the principal while his father was teacher, and he used to run on the table. And Pa would look at him and look at Peter Pan. So I saw two elders, you know, that this was. So that shows the value. Yes. It shows the respect. It shows how dear.
I don't know if Isha people necessarily prostrate, but it's a measure of the respect.
No, Papa prostrate. It was like this before he said, and I was by the corner by the door. I was just looking. You know, I was amazed that this kind of respect.
These are.
You know, these values are rare.
They are.
And
they are.
Such rare value is what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has. You know, to have giving all to his father, his leader, and all that. And Pa Adebanjo also paid it back when he became president. He visited him in his home. You know, AIG Alapini was there, retired. And I think Mr. Shuposhoni Bare was also there. And I think, if I'm not wrong, Pa Jasin's daughter, if I'm not wrong, I saw them in the picture. You know, regardless, they were also there. So they still have an equilibrium where they meet, regardless of their views. Right? And we still have some of them too living.
Yes.
Alhaji Tanku Yakasa will be 100 years this year. This man reads without glasses. He chats. He speaks. He talks.
No, we're blessed.
You know, and we still have a lot of them.
Indeed.
So I will beg you, media people, before they leave,
for the great
that
beyond,
you should do an extensive interview, asking them questions that borders around their path, the path of their leaders that are hidden from us because they were not documented, so that they can give it to you and also give you some documents.
Right.
Like Paul Lucy, if you go to him, he will start bringing books, you know, teaching you about the Nigerian state, the Lagos formative years and how things are evolving.
Right.
So people like that, I think you guys should take it as a project and get to meet them and draw out all this information.
Indeed. Well,
so that younger people can watch it and they start mirroring, you know, around it, and they now create a niche for themselves to build good values.
Okay, then. Fitting words for the icons that we're speaking about, Chief Edwin Clark and Chief Ayo Adebanjo. I want to thank you very much. Comrade Prince Ayodele Adewale.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Political affairs analyst. And we'll be finding out about your birthday celebrations. You'll be very quiet about it, not knowing that some of us will know. We'll find out. Happy birthday once again.
I don't really believe in birthdays.
We're together on that.
I don't believe in birthdays.
Thank you very much
for coming
do,
on. But
okay, then. We're going to have to leave it there. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folare. Bye-bye for now.